Hello, ladies. I want to introduce you to a concept called slow dating. I don't know if you've ever heard of it because I don't even know if the word exists, but I have been thinking about this and the impact, the positive impact this could make on your dating life. So I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Chu, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and transformational coach for women, especially single successful women that are ready to finally find love and to date confidently and to create their happily ever after. So this concept of slow dating, it really came to me very recently, and I've been thinking about it. And in a society that's going fast, and we move so fast that we rarely slow down. And this actually also applies to dating. And so many women that I talk to, they're getting burned out, like totally burned out on dating. They'll finally get the confidence to get online and to get on, Match.com or Positive Singles or OkCupid or Tinder, or what's another one? Bumble. Bumble's actually, side note, women are loving Bumble. But what they find is they jump in the pool and they line up a bunch of dates, and they go on a date and they're not so happy with the date, and so they just line up, so many dates. Or they find out, they go on a date, see if this sounds familiar to you or one of your girlfriends. You go on a date, within the first date or within the first 3 dates, you find yourself in bed. And you wake up the next morning and you don't feel like such a queen or such a goddess anymore. You feel like you kind of sold out. Now, this does not apply to women who are like, oh my gosh, I just need to get some sex on. That's okay too. This conversation is really about women that are looking for a long-term partnership, which is really the women I serve. Okay. So if you're looking for commitment and you want commitment, I'm going to encourage you to slow down, like really slow down. Slow food. I'm sure you've heard of slow food. And this idea, as a doctor, I love the idea of slow food because you slow down and you take time to chew and to integrate your food. They say you really should sit down for at least a half hour. And heck, the Europeans, they sit down for hours and they're in great conversations. And so eating becomes really a chance to connect both with self and connect with another in a deeper, more meaningful way. And so this slow food revolution really is about slowing down and connecting. And so I'd like to bring this slow food and preparing your meals and nourishment and all the wonderful things about slowing down with food and enjoying the process of eating. Well, why don't we start to chunk down dating in bite-sized chunks, and really get to know somebody before sharing the most intimate part of ourselves as women, which is sex and intimacy. And let me tell you, ladies, we do, even though there are women out there and they say, oh yeah, I can have sex, it's no big deal. There are very few women that can do that without truly feeling connected. And then what happens if you get ghosted? Or you sleep with someone very early on, like first date, second date, third date. You sleep with them and then they're gone. They're gone. So we want to talk about this idea of slowing down and creating a deeper, meaningful relationship with men, which ultimately will help you to certainly begin to filter out the guys that really are just looking for sex. If you're looking for a long-term partnership, you want a really healthy sex life, but you also want a long-term partnership. So, if we could just slow down, one of the benefits is you're not going to get so burned out because you are not going to go from guy to guy to guy to guy to guy. I find that women who sleep with guys very early on, sleep with men early on, they often, not always, but often the relationship fizzles out because you peak right at the beginning, possibly if it's great sex, and then it drops out and you're not as fulfilled sexually either, right? And so what generally is happening in these kinds of situations, I love the thumbs up, is that there's high levels of attraction. And there's nothing wrong with that. Although studies are showing that if you have that like immediate like sexual urge that comes up on that first date, it's fun. There could be great sex there, but often those kinds of like hot and heavy, so fast, right on, do not convert to long-term partnership. What's going on there? What's going on there is we're igniting the hindbrain, and the hindbrain is all about survival, and we're talking about getting your sexy on. It's about procreation, right? Sex is really, when we look at it biologically, it's meant for procreation. So what a great strategy, right? But when all the brain's going to your hindbrain, what ends up happening, men and women, we start to lose our high, what we call the executive functioning, or said differently, the frontal brain goes offline. It just kind of checks out. And that's our ability to really analyze and make good choices, right? So I want you to start thinking about what kind of relationship are you really looking for? And if it is a committed relationship, just be wary of those red flags that go off really early and just slow it down. Use dating in an old school way for courtship. What a concept. I'll tell you, I waited with my husband, and it really was incredibly valuable in the sense that we went on several dates and I got to really know him and he got to really know me. Was I attracted to him? Absolutely. But I had my frontal brain engaged because I knew what I was looking for. I can remember a guy back in college, and Dylan was hot. And let me tell you, Dylan could now possibly be modeling. I mean, he was smart. He had so many things going on for him. And we dated. And, he was the kind of guy, when he walked into a room, heads turned, which is fantastic. But he also really wasn't into the whole courtship or really long-term deep connections. He was incredibly narcissistic. And I'll never forget the Halloween. We're coming up on October, so maybe that's why I'm thinking about him. I remember going to a Halloween party with him. And it was the first time that I was, going into a more social situation with him. And we went to this party, and I'll tell you, like, it wasn't seconds before he was off talking to other people and engaged, and it was like I didn't even exist. Now, I am all for independent women that can go to a party and hang on your own, right? Like, I'm all for that, right? You don't need to be, just like right there with the guy that you're going to the party with. But wouldn't it feel nice to, it was a party I didn't know anyone and he knew everyone. Wouldn't it be nice if he had introduced me and allowed it to really let these people know that I was part of his life? I had been dating him for a while. I guess this is a sidetrack. My whole point is Dylan was not the kind of guy that was there for the long haul. He was not there for commitment. The synergy, the sexual energy was fantastic, but he wasn't in it for the long haul. Okay. And so I want you to know, start to be mindful, if you are a woman and you're noticing that your relationships, they go really fast, high sexual energy, you sleep with a man very shortly, and then it dies out and it doesn't work out, maybe there's something to this. Maybe starting to shift your strategy and begin to slow date. Okay. So why does a man often ghost you right after sex? Let's talk about that. One potential reason, the whole ghosting thing, they're not emotionally really available to you or to a relationship. So that's number one. And that goes for ghosting anywhere in a relationship. That's number one, often the main reason why you're being ghosted. Emotionally, they're not ready for true connection. But let's talk about the situation after having sex. A woman might think, oh my gosh, maybe the sex was bad. Possibly, okay? But what about this? Have you ever considered that it actually might have more to do with how his brain is wired because he's a man, as a possibility? And what I mean by this is men are singular focused. And you look at primitive cultures, they have one goal, one target at a time. So for example, if they need to go out and get meat for the village, the men, they gather, singular focus, let's go hunt the buffalo. Okay? Because I'm a caveman, cavewoman. Cavewoman is the gatherer. Gather, 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 gather. Right? So we are multi-focused. And so we're often, as women, we're not just looking for sex. We're often looking for sex. We're looking for depth of relationship. We're looking for potentially a provider, someone who can provide love and support and so many different things. This is not to say men don't also, there are men out there that are also looking for these same things. Absolutely. But if you are dealing with a man that all they want is sex and they do not, they might talk that they want long-term partnership. But there are men out there, really all they're wanting at that point in time is sex. And you know, we women, we think, oh, we'll change them. They don't know me, right? This is not true. They know what they want. And so for those men that all they want from you is sex, one goal, once they get that, gone. So ladies, what would have happened? I want you to think if that happened to you, or it may have not been ghosting, but shortly after having sex, they're offline. Okay, it might not be ghosting, but they stop engaging. I want you to think about that. Singular focus. They got what they wanted early on, and they didn't need to develop a relationship with you because they got what they needed. They're off. They're off to the next gal. All right. So that is one way that it really backfires on you if you're looking for long-term commitment. Okay, so the female brain and how it's wired, this is fascinating. So we, while we're multi-focused, we are also though driven by hormones. We're also driven to procreate. So those hormonal fluctuations, you know, the buzz that we get, that's the same for men and women. And so it's really easy to get those sexual hormones and feel goods and neurotransmitters going, and you as a woman are like, okay, I just want to get sexed up, which is fine, but don't equate that and think that that's going to necessarily give you long-term partners, okay? Because that's often not the case. Be wary of that. I want you to be attracted to your guy. And a lot of women will share that they weren't sexually attracted right from the get-go, that it took some time because they got to know the man, and that developed a connection and a falling in love and a sexual connection, right? So I'm not saying that there can't be some level of spark. Sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't, but the high spark are often the fires that burn out fast, all right? So let's talk about, you know, if you do wait, slow dating, this idea of slow dating. If you do wait, what are some of the benefits? Well, here's what's amazing is when you're dating, you're getting to know somebody. It is like shopping. I've said before, dating is like marketing. You're putting your best foot forward, and so is he. And that's a beautiful thing. And yet over time, you become more vulnerable. I am hoping that you do, because that's where the intimacy really happens. And that's where the vulnerability happens. And what I will tell you is that when you do wait, and when I say waiting, I don't have like a set time. For some women, this could be a couple weeks. For some women, this could be a couple months. For some women, it could be until marriage. So I don't have strong, I guess I have my opinions of that. And I will tell you personally, I am not of a religious belief that you need to wait till marriage, but for women and men that do, that's amazing. That's really amazing. But I will say there is kind of a period of time, and I think I have heard women say that they're so fearful of if they don't give sex early on, he's going to go. And I'm saying just the opposite. If you do give up and have sex early on, you can sometimes almost assure be assured if that's all he wants, then he'll leave. Or maybe if it's great sex, you'll just have a beautiful sexual relationship. A commitment, forget about it. Okay? So you've got to really know what you're wanting. And the women that I attract and work with are women that are looking for long-term partnership and a great sex life. But sex just for the act of sex, without connection and without intimacy and without commitment, they're not interested. So that's who I'm really speaking to here. So if you want to feel like a queen and feel uplifted and supported by an amazing man, then go old school. Consider slow dating. And one of the values of this is, I can remember, and this is like totally an old school saying. I can remember my mother saying it, quoted by my mother. It went something like this, you know, why would a man buy a cow when he can get his milk for free? Okay, totally silly. Said differently, why is he going to be with you long term if all he wants is sex? He gets that, and then he's out. Okay, so if you really want to feel treated, you know, treated like a queen, you're looking for your one king. You're looking for that long-term monogamous relationship where he adores you and he wants to provide for you and he wants to make you feel like $1 million, and he thinks about you and you get those warm feelings. I mean, it's falling in love is amazing. It's one of the greatest drugs on the planet. I mean, come on, right? When you're in love, what's possible? What's possible when you're in love? I want you to think about the last time you were in love. Do you remember it? If you don't, maybe it's been too long. Maybe you've been fast dating. Okay? Maybe you've never been in love. I have worked with women who that are close to 50 and later, and that they've never been in love. And in working with me, they find love, they get married, they have children, right? Not the 50-year-olders, but sorry, digressing. This idea of slow dating so you can feel like a queen. That sex, when it does come around, it's going to be so much better. Because your ability to communicate, your ability to connect, your deeper understanding of him and the partnership, and you can celebrate one another, and him waiting, he'll treat you differently. He will, ladies. He will treat you differently. Because remember what I said, are men singular focused or multi-focused, or said differently, diffuse focused, as Alison Armstrong shares? And the answer is they're singular focused. So in slow dating, you, my beautiful ladies of the tribe, are the prize. You really are the prize. And it's time that you know that. It's time that you know your worthiness and what you bring to relationship. Your heart is beautiful. You are wise. You are strong. You are more powerful than you ever believed. And he will see your light. He will see how amazing you are. You will actually find, sometimes, I found this with my husband, he saw me in a way that I wanted to see myself. It's like the words that he would use, it would surprise me, because I was and still am his queen and he my king. And so it's a two-way street. When as the queen you find your king, you will do that for him also. You will see him in a way that maybe he's never seen himself. You will lift him up. It is true companionship. And it is the most amazing thing that I've ever been gifted with outside of my daughter, my husband. And I couldn't have had my daughter without my husband. So really it was a package deal, right? But that love that we shared, it started with a courtship. It started with filtering out the people that weren't our fits. We both will share that we had been on lots of bad first dates and lots of bad dates in general. But we both were willing to commit to the long-term partnership that we desired, that was our heart's desired. So I want you to consider, seriously consider, because I believe it's, there are very few women that I know that are in committed long-term partnerships, and it doesn't have to end in marriage, but that long-term monogamy that so many women say they want, it might require you going about dating differently. And for those millennials out there that are listening to me, you probably think I'm crazy, and that's okay. And I also want you to ask yourself, how's it going? Are the men sticking around? Do you feel worthy of waiting? Because if the man's not going to wait, then he doesn't see your worth. All right. I hope this was helpful. If you would like to explore feeling irresistible in your body and feeling like a queen, please book your session with me, your irresistible you call, so we can unlock that inner queen. She's in there, and it will probably require us tweaking how you think about dating and what's really holding you back. We'll uncover that. All you need to do is book your session with me. I will leave a link in the notes, and I look forward to serving you. Again, I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Shue, Amazon best-selling author, speaker, and transformational coach for women. Until next time, have a fantastic day.